Here you might need to take a deep breath for what's about to happen if you thought this was just about Nicki and Card's crazy girl fighting drama. These fights were between the oldest and fiercest rappers, and when their diss tracks failed, they all got physical. Get ready to witness the most intense fights in the history of the industry, starting with the longest and craziest J. Rule versus 50 Cent. Regardless of the amount of time that has gone, some feuds are too complicated and difficult to forget. Roughly 50 cents long, Ja Rule in a standing war around 1999. Ja Rule was established by Irv Gotti and the Murder Inc. conglomerate. A rising star at the time was enticed down the block by an old South Side acquaintance who believed that Rule had made him a cuckold during a prison bid. Despite Rule's denial, the man chose to take the rapper's chain as a consolation prize. Naturally, Rule wasn't about to allow such disrespect to go unanswered, so he assembled his crew for a revenge mission. However, before things got out of control, Rule first reached out to a mutual party, the Big Homie Supreme, who helped return the rapper's chain. Once 50 Cent learned of what had happened, he released a diss track called Life's on the Line, in which he vicariously trolled Rule over the incident, but the unreleased version of the song is where he causes the most harm. 50 WPS, you jaw. Why, did you rush to PR to receive your Why Did the Robber Nas walk around like everything was fine? Why won't you come to? It's unclear what initially caused his hostility toward Rule, but some claim he was envious of Ja Rule's quicker ascent to fame at the time. Nevertheless, the two rappers would eventually meet up at a big concert in New York in late 1999. Things quickly got out of hand, and the two ended up in a nasty fight that ended with 50 taking away Rules' chain. In an earlier interview with Dame Greason MWCK, the former comments about 50 spotting Ja Rule's chain during a studio session at the Hit Factory, saying that 50 spends the next few weeks making fun of Rule by wearing the contentious chain around the hood.
One of the homies came in and he just banged on another rapper, and he came in smiling, teeth from here to here, and he had his chain on his little kid, on his son.
Grease clarified that at the time he went, 50 boasted about his triumph over Ja Rule and
he came in like, yo, I just took a shit. I remember now I was like, yo, son, you crazy. I'm like, I don't even know who you niggas is, but that's G. You know what I'm saying? Actually, that was actually 50.
According to reports, J. Rule would later storm the studio with his boys in search of 50, which resulted in one of the bloodiest altercations in rap history. One of Rule's boys allegedly pulled out a knife and stabbed 50 during the altercation, but 50 managed to escape. He would later downplay the incident, calling the stabbing a minor scratch, and the two are still teasing each other to this day. From there, we move on to a crazy girl fight that rocked the rap industry to its foundation. Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. Prior to Card's debut in the rap arena, Card's rise to prominence and the release of her song Bodak Yellow marked the beginning of Nicki Minaj and Card's feud. It had been almost 3 years since Nicki Minaj's album was released, and her fans were right to feel that her place was in jeopardy amid all the drama. Nicki was the undisputed queen of the genre for women, but all of a sudden, her position was threatened when Card's debut single was performing at numbers that Nicki had only dreamed of in nearly 10 years of her career. The song had not even peaked when Nicki Minaj's fans, known as Barbs, started hurling insults at Cardi. Nicki and Cardi made an effort to put their differences aside when they appeared on Migos' 2017 single Motorsport, but everything went horribly wrong after the song's video was released. It was revealed that Migos had added Cardi to the song without consulting Nicki, and that Nicki's verse had allegedly been changed at the request of Cardi's label, Atlantic. From this point on, the rappers started disparaging one another, with Nicki notably calling Cardi ungrateful during one of her interviews in 2018. The tension between the two rappers escalated when they attended the New York Fashion Week party in September 2018, where Nicki Minaj was reportedly speaking to someone when Cardi B attempted to attack her but was stopped by Nicki's bodyguards. Later, a video of the moment that Cardi launched herself at Nicki went viral online. The Bodak Yellow rapper also threw a shoe at Nicki and was later spotted leaving the event with a bump on her head. Shortly after the fight, Cardi posted a long, post on Instagram referencing the altercation, but omitting Nicki's name. She said that the fight started because her mothering abilities were being questioned. The post said, in part, "But when you mention my child, you choose to like comments about me as a mother, make comments about my abilities to take care of my daughter, and then all bets are off." Since then, Nicki and Cardi have continued to make fun of each other at every opportunity. In 2023, their spouses were even drawn into the feud when Nicki's husband, Kenneth Petty, posted a video of himself and his crew cruising around New York, apparently looking for Offset, who laughed off the threat. A judge slapped Petty with a probation violation and sentenced him to house arrest. Next up, we have a rap cover who frequently discusses their relationship issues in public, Blueface versus Chris Rock. One of the strangest partnerships in the rap industry is that of Blueface and Chris Rock. The two have been dating intermittently since 2020, but their relationship has been marred by several arguments and scandals. One of their most contentious incidents occurred on August 6, 2022, when the couple was seen fighting in public on a street in Hollywood, California. In a video that TMZ was able to obtain, Blueface and Rock were seen strolling down the street when Rock abruptly threw the first punch. The fight then continued on the sparsely populated sidewalk, with both of them exchanging more blows at one point. They continued fighting on the ground after Rock tore Blueface's shirt and pulled him to the ground. In retaliation, Blueface pulled her chain off her neck before some onlookers intervened and ended the fight. Surprisingly, Blueface and Chrissy still went home together after the vicious altercation, but a short while later, Blueface posted on Instagram to display the injuries he had sustained during the altercation in the video. Blueface also explained how the fight began. The rapper said that after looking through Rock's phone and discovering that she was speaking to other men, he offered her money to end their relationship, but she consistently turned him down. 2 months later, Chrissy and Rock went live on Instagram to display the injuries she had incurred in another altercation with Blueface. The rapper was clearly agitated, tears streaming down her face, as she yelled, "This is a busted lip and a busted nose. You're lying, you weird ass." Rock continued by disclosing that the bit ass was the result of her texting a male. A year later, after Rock claimed on Instagram that Blueface had attacked her and hit her in the face, the two were added once more. In the live broadcast, Rock displayed what appeared to be bloody evidence all over her face, Blueface's knuckles, and the automobile. In response, Blueface said she showed up at his house without warning and was driving their child without a car seat. However, law enforcement sources said no calls were made reporting the incident from Blueface and Rock's toxic relationship. She then informed her followers that she wouldn't be leaving Blueface's driveway until the police arrived to take him to jail. Over the years, rapper The Game has been involved in a number of high-profile feuds with other rappers, but one of the more interesting ones involving The Game was the one with another rapper named 40 Glocc. We examine another epic fight that was captured live and shared online. Over the years, the two rappers have never concealed their intense animosity toward one another, but in July 2012, when The Game planned a well-executed attack against 40 Glocc, things took a dark turn. The rapper recorded and shared a 35-second video in which he beat his opponent mercilessly while holding his iPhone in one hand. Game is seen chasing down 40 in the streets of Los Angeles. When Game eventually catches 40, he unloads a series of heavy blows on him while still holding the iPhone with the other hand as the blows intensified. 40 turns his back and cowers to his knees while voices can be heard in the background pleading with Game to end the punishment following the one-sided beatdown.
I can beat.
So you could outperform Soulja Boy.
Outperform anybody hit for hit.
Soulja Boy?
40 Glocc sat down with Adam 22 in September 2022 to give his own account of how things went down that fateful day during the lengthy interview. 40 emphasized that the recorded fight was never one-on-one, but the aftermath of a large-scale jumping. 40 then detailed how The Game had a gun pointed to his head at some point, forcing him to beg for his life and submit to the beating. The rapper followed up by suing The Game for $5 million in damages for assault and battery, as well as damage to his reputation, which was caused by the recorded beatdown. In 2015, 40 was awarded $33,000 and an additional $200,000 in 2017. Quando Rondo versus Lil Durk. Although there had always been animosity between rappers Quando Rondo and Lil Durk, their beef really intensified with the death of Chicago. Rapper King Von was killed on November 6, 2020, during a shooting outside an Atlanta nightclub. According to reports, the shooting started as a physical altercation between King Von's entourage and Quando Rondo's entourage. V was shot during the altercation and later declared dead at the hospital. During the trial, the police swiftly identified Rondo's associate, Lil Tim, as the one who pulled the trigger that killed V. Rondo frequently made fun of Von's passing and expressed support for Lil Tim. This infuriated Lil Durk, a close friend of the late King Von, who unavoidably got into a heated argument with Rondo. When fans started trending the Von hashtag, which was a request for Lil Durk to exact revenge for his friend's death on August 19, 2022, at a gas station close to Beverly Center Mall, a gunman ambushed Rondo. The gunman fired at least 18 rounds at Rondo's car, killing a victim later identified as Rondo's cousin, El Pob. In the days that followed, Lil Durk released a song that not only made fun of El Po's passing, but also suggested that he might have been involved in the shooting. 2 years following the shooting incident, Lil Durk and 5 other members of his Soul Family crew were taken into custody for the murder of El Po as part of the H plot. On January 7th, Lil Durk's trial will start for the next rapper on our list. In the case of Lil Durk's murder-for-hire scenario, things almost ended in death. Like most rap feuds, Tekashi 69 and Trippie Redd began as friends before things took a turn for the worse. The two rappers even collaborated on 2 projects in 2017, OE in July and Polls 1469 in April. However, after a Twitter user claimed that Tekashi 69 was a pedophile, Trippie denounced Tekashi 69, setting off a social media feud between the two that lasted for several months until Trippie was attacked in a New York hotel lobby on November 11, 2017. In an Instagram live video, Trippie Redd accused Tekashi 69 and his group of carrying out the attack. The two would continue to spar on social media in February and March of 2018. After being detained in 2018, the rapper Tekashi 69 testified at his trial that he was jealous and planned the November 2017 attack on Trippie Redd. According to Tekashi 69, his primary argument with Trippie stemmed from their label members and gang affiliations. Tekashi 69 claimed that there was a lot of envy involved because he was signed first and I was subsequently signed. After our successful song, Jealousy, led to arguments on the internet. After pleading guilty to several charges of racketeering conspiracy, Tekashi 69 and his group followed Trippie to the hotel where they attacked him. According to Tekashi 69, who claimed that the attack occurred after Trippie's manager attempted to mediate a peace agreement between the two of them. Tekashi 69 received a 2-year prison sentence for firearms violations and drug trafficking. Rapper Blueface returns to our list, but this time he gets entangled in a vicious feud with his male counterpart, Soulja Boy. When Blueface stated in a December 2023 interview with comedian Funny that he would defeat Soulja Boy or any other artist in a Vero war, it appeared that he started a feud with Soulja Boy.
Down Tatiana 5 times in a row. Cut it out, nigga. Don't make me go in the vault, nigga. I get to pulling out shit with Bow Wow and shit, nigga. Nigga, what?
There appears to be a paucity of records beyond his single Theana, using his Instagram Live to deliver a message to Blueface, which infuriated Soulja Boy, who responded by pointing at Blueface, saying,
Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit.
As the two rappers continued their online exchange, Soulja Boy went through the lengthy list of collaborators as proof that Blueface wouldn't stand a chance in the proposed battle. However, when Blueface claimed to have slept with Soulja Boy's baby mama on social media and then directly to Soulja Boy, when the two appeared on Instagram Live together, he even implied that he might be the child's biological father. In response, Soulja Boy vowed to sleep with both Blueface's then-girlfriend, Jaden Alexis, and his then-girlfriend, Chrisean Rock. Additionally, Soulja Boy continuously challenged Blueface to a fight and threatened to attack him. Eventually, the two agreed on a meeting place, but Blueface claims that Soulja Boy never arrived at the scheduled time. Soulja Boy did not refute Blueface's claim, but he did insist on confronting him at a later time that would be more convenient for him. In January 2024, Soulja Boy went live on Instagram and demanded that Blueface provide his address so they could meet and die. He said, "My mama, man, all that internet, when you see this live, just DM me the addy and we'll be through. Let's shoot it up, let's shoot it out." There wasn't going to be any fight, though, as Blueface mockingly dismissed Soulja Boy's threats. "Let's die, let's meet up, and let's die ASAP. Let's meet right now." Due to Rihanna, a Drake versus Chris Brown in the mid-2000s, the following rappers on this list forwent all the back and forth on social media and went right for each other's throats. Drake. Around 2008, Chris Brown and Rihanna became close friends. However, during one of their numerous breakups, their relationship had its share of ups and downs. Drake and Rihanna began a romantic relationship around 2009, sparking a jealousy-fueled feud between Brown and himself. The beef quickly escalated into a physical altercation when Drake and Brown crossed paths at a New York nightclub in 2012. According to reports, the brawl began when Brown sent a bottle to Drake's table, a gesture that was obviously not well received. There was an ensuing argument, which eventually resulted in Drake allegedly punching Brown in the face and striking him in the chin with a bottle. A full-on brawl then broke out between members of the respective rappers' crews. By the time the police arrived at the scene, both rappers had already left with their respective entourage. The WAP, the New York club where the whole thing went down, reportedly provided the video footage of the brawl to law enforcement in order to aid with the investigation and incident. And meanwhile, while shortly after incident, citing Drake's spokeswoman at time All Elbow Teagle issued a statement denying that Drake was involved in wrongdoing. She further emphasized that Drake was on his way out of the club when the fight started and he took no part in it. Almost simultaneously, Usually Brown spokesman Manja Raymond issued a statement claiming that Brown was a victim of a brutal attack. K. Brown tweeted a photo of his bloody chin along with the comments and bottles to support the claim. "Throwing bottles like females have Shimona is nothing. After our tangled love triangle, we go on to the strange altercation between two purported lovers that resulted in one of them being shot in the foot. The couple was eventually sued for $16 million over the nightclub altercation." Tory Lanez against Megan Thee Stallion. Rappers Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion got into a heated argument in the early hours of July 12, 2020, after leaving a pool party at Kylie Jenner's house in Los Angeles in an SUV with some of their friends. After Megan criticized Lanez's rap skills, Lanez lashed out at her, and at one point, Megan got out of the car they were riding in and started to walk away when Lanez fired at her feet. However, Lanez's legal team denied this account, arguing that Lanez never fired the gun and instead suggested that the woman may have been upset that the two rappers had been intimate. A video of the shooting's aftermath later surfaced on social media showing Megan slowly backing up to police while her leg was bleeding out on the street days after the shooting. Megan posted on her Instagram page to let her followers know that she had been shot and needed surgery, but she didn't go into further detail. However, as the rumors and conjecture about the shooting started to circulate, Megan made the decision to clear the air and disclose that the shooter was Tory Lanez, who at the time had already been arrested and charged with hiding a gun in the car. Lanez would later address the matter in his rap lyrics, which implied a contradictory account, saying that "we both knew what happened that night and what I did, but it isn't what they're saying." After an extremely tumultuous trial, Lanez was given a 10-year prison sentence. He is scheduled to be released in 2033 and may be eligible for parole in 2029. More recently, Megan filed a restraining order against Lanez, alleging that he had been harassing her online while intoxicated and repeatedly traumatizing and re-victimizing her. a father-son relationship that became strained and nearly violent. Birdman versus Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne and Birdman had an enviable father-son relationship that was unlike anything the music industry had ever seen. Unsurprisingly, their perfect relationship led to success in the music industry, earning the two well-deserved accolades from their peers. However, everything they had worked so hard to achieve was squandered when they became embroiled in a 3-year saga in which they publicly discussed their personal problems. It all started in 2014, when Lil Wayne abruptly took to Twitter to accuse Birdman of being the reason behind the postponement of his album, The Carter B.I.G. In addition, Lil Wayne stated his intention to sever his relationship with the label, characterizing himself as a prisoner whose creativity was being restricted. He wrote, "I want off this label and nothing to do with these people, but unfortunately, it isn't that easy." Over the course of the following few months, Lil Wayne and Birdman's relationship would become more intense. The lollipop rapper revealed a $51 million lawsuit against in January 2015. Lil Wayne then made the altercation public by verbally attacking Birdman and hurling a string of obscenities. During a performance in April 2015, Lil Wayne famously screamed at fans as he performed, as was to be expected. Although no one was hurt in the attack, it was later determined that the shooter was Pee Wee Rosso, a Young Thug affiliate who was then becoming close friends with Birdman. As a result, although Bird rarely responded to any of Lil Wayne's feuds, he was pointed at later that month when Lil Wayne's tour bus was hit by bullets from a passing car as it was leaving the Compound nightclub in Atlanta. When Lil Wayne performed at Club Live in Miami in July 2015, the rapper was allegedly doused with drinks that had been thrown at him from the VIP area. It was alleged that Birdman and his group were seated in the area of the VIP where the drinks were thrown at the time, and the indictment stated that Birdman and Young Thug orchestrated the attack on Lil Wayne's tour bus. However, Birdman and Young Thug were never prosecuted for any crimes, and in August 2018, Lil Wayne and Birdman reconciled. From there, we examine the conflict that turned two of the finest rap artists from friends into the biggest stars in music. Competition Notorious versus Tupac Huge. Being two of the most gifted rappers in the 1990s meant that Tupac and Biggie were destined to be drawn to one another. However, because they lived on different coasts, their worlds were bound to collide in an unfriendly way, and things soured between the two when Biggie informed Tupac about his friendship with Jack Haitian. Biggie's warnings to Jack Ant and Jimmy Henchman were ignored, and on November 30th, 1994, Tupac was shot outside the Quad recording studios in Times Square. According to reports, Tupac was summoned to the studio by Biggie's affiliated rapper, Lil C.E., and upon arriving, he was beaten, shot, and had his jewelry stolen. Tupac eventually came to believe that Biggie and Diddy were responsible for the shooting after learning that they were inside the building when it happened. Days later, Tupac will be imprisoned for sexual abuse, and it was there that he and Death Row Records' Esh Knight vowed to destroy Diddy and Biggie's rival label, Bad Boy Records. While Tupac was incarcerated, Biggie released the song Who Shot Ya Ya, which many thought was directed at him. Tupac also said that Biggie's style was a rip-off of his own, and the song hit him up. The song starts with Tupac rapping, "I ain't got no friends. That's why I fuck your B, you fat mother." Later, Pac becomes more direct and personal as he raps, "You claim to be a player, but your wife. We bust on bad boys for life." This was the height of their feud, and rumors started to circulate that both groups were out for each other. Tupac was killed in September 1996, just 3 months after he was hit up, but there is no proof that Biggie or Diddy were involved in his demise. Biggie was shot and killed in a drive-by on March 9, 1997, and both murders are still unsolved. Next on our list, we examine how a fight for supremacy between two Southern rappers descended into a full-fledged street brawl. T.I. Means versus Lil Flip. Back in the early 2000s, rapper T.I. enjoyed massive success as he dropped several hit songs around 2003. While riding on the wave of his accomplishments, he began calling himself the King of the South. Didn't go down well with some of his Southern colleagues, especially Lil Flip, who publicly rejected that claim. As usual, this led to back and forth between both rappers that only got more intense when T.I. was sent to jail in 2004 for violating the terms of his probation. This stemmed from a 1998 conviction for violating a State-Controlled Substances Act and for giving false information. Between 2004 and 2005, the two Southern rappers continued to trade shots at each other through their various songs and mixtapes. The beef eventually came to a head when T.I. made an appearance on Houston radio station 97.9 in 2005 and dissed Lil Flip on air. During the interview, T.I. also claimed that he was heading to Flip's Cloverland neighborhood to shoot a video to unmask Flip as a fraud. True to his words, after the interview, T.I. went to the Cloverland neighborhood, which resulted in a large altercation between the two groups at a detail shop nearby. The altercation swiftly got out of hand, and several people were hurt. After the altercation, T.I. claimed on the radio that he had recorded the entire event and would include it on his upcoming mixtape. When discussing the peace meeting, Lil Flip claimed that what we said was at an undisclosed location and that cooler heads prevailed, so ultimately it was some petty arguments between the two that led to their eventual resolution in 2013, during a confrontation in which Rap AOT founder J. Prince acted as a mediator. That is what mature men do when they sit down to figure stuff out. There you have it, the most insane rappers battle in the most entertaining scene ever seen. If you like this clip and don't mind more of this kind of content, click on the card that is displayed on the screen. The meeting was successful and both T.I. and Lil Flip decided to set aside their disagreements and carry on with their individual rap careers.